The other day I was driving on my way to meet up with a friend who was in town for the holidays. I came over a hill going the speed that I'm more or less set on autopilot to go at when there isn't ice on the road. There was ice on the road. I tried to slow down, but very quickly realized that I was not going to be able to bring my vehicle to a complete stop by the time I would reach the stop sign. And the specific intersection where I was at, on the other side of the stop sign, wasn't road that kept going as if in like a four-way. It was a big open field following a very steep 45 degree or higher ditch. And so in that fraction of a second, or however long it really took, time is always really interesting how it warps when you're in sort of those like emergency situations. But more or less, I found myself in my car sticking out of the ditch at 45 and upwards degrees. And it was a really interesting situation because there are times in life when unexpected things you didn't necessarily plan for, they just happen, and they bring you more or less against your will into a scenario, into a situation that you have to navigate, and you may or may not be, usually you're not really ready or equipped to handle. And it can be disorienting, it can be confusing, it can be incredibly stressful, and it is really easy to go through life and carry over the stress accumulated from those types of situations and incidents. And yeah, they can be life-changing on some level, for better or for worse. What I want to talk about a little bit today is something that has helped me navigate not only things like car accidents, but just also other times in life in which my expectation of where my life is headed all of a sudden changes drastically. If a relationship ends, if a family member passes away, different things like this. There are a lot of times in life where these things happen outside of our control, and the outcomes are completely different from what we expected. And it forces us to have to navigate the short-term fallout, if you will, or the short-term. Sometimes the immediate period is often very chaotic and has a lot of moving parts, or just moves so quickly that you almost didn't have any time to like process it or think through it, or maybe you were forced to make a decision or many decisions in quick succession, and again without a lot of time to fully do it properly, I guess. And something that has helped me in all of these scenarios in life is putting on the hat of stoicism, I guess is what I will call it. If you're unfamiliar with stoicism, it is, I guess you could argue it's a way of thinking or a way of life. It was practiced and popularized in ancient Rome, and it's a way of going through life. To generalize stoicism, it's a way of going through life with a rigorous pursuit of looking at the world with some level of detachment to the things that go on. It's in many ways really similar to Buddhism in the sense that there's this aspect of identifying that the root of attachment, emotional attachment, and creating sense and meaning based off of our judgments of things rather than necessarily the things themselves. And with that specific frame of looking at the world, realizing that there is a great deal of neutrality in things that happen. Man drives car, goes in ditch, is that which actually happened to me the other day, but all of the, oh, that's such a horrible thing, or oh, that's so scary, or what a stressful time, or any and all of the other judgments that we create, and definitely not to invalidate them, but all of those emotional judgments, for example, all those emotional attachments around safety and around fear and around all of these things, right? These are all, as the Stoics would kind of look at it, they are a judgment that is separate from the actual events themselves. And when we go through life and when we experience those unexpected things, when we have a strong emotional reaction to the thing, it's typically in that emotional ambiguity where I find it's harder to kind of move forward. It's harder to navigate effectively those critical times, those critical periods where there's so much chaos, there's so much, again, emotional ambiguity, where practicing even just a little bit of cognitive dissonance or cognitive detachment, even just pursuing the clarity and looking at the situation from the standpoint of, here are the actual things that happened, this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and being able to even go as far as to like write these down and to visualize them separately from the emotions and the other judgments that you might associate with those things. That simple practice of just even visually seeing the difference between the things that happen and the emotional judgments that we create around a circumstance can be really helpful. And at least just having some sense of, okay, these are different things. There's a lot more I could talk about at the moment. I think I'll just leave it at that. If you've never heard of Stoicism, if you are interested in learning more, I would recommend there's a lot of resources available today. Like, you can Google something, you can Bing something. A book I've read that I found pretty accessible, it's called How to Think Like a Roman Emperor, written by Donald Robertson. And the thing with Stoicism, the thing with a lot of different schools of thought or religions, even philosophies, there are generalizations you can make about this or that or that or this. You might think of Christianity being something that is a religion, but when you look closer at it, there's lots of branches, lots of different ways in which people, even within its own, belief system, there are a lot of variance. There's a lot of variance within it. The Stoicism that's proposed and explored in How to Think Like a Roman Emperor is the specific Stoicism that was practiced by Marcus Aurelius. So I actually have the book with me right now. This is what it looks like. Highly recommend. Again, I think it's pretty accessible for somebody who doesn't know anything about Stoicism, somebody who's looking for not only just maybe some historical context around it, also some like historical context around who Marcus Aurelius was as a man, but also being able to have the book is written in a way where you can very easily take some of like the wisdom and the principles that are that make up the Stoicism that Marcus Aurelius lived his life out of, and you can apply those to your own life in simple steps. That's all I have for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.